Doobie doo.
Wow.
Do.
Wow.
Psych!
Wow.
Haha, what up? This is the Select Characters podcast, and Chris isn't here, so there will be no music of any kind. He sent it to me, but I'm not gonna use it. So that's it.
We got this. We're improv.
Do not attempt to adjust your podcasting device. I control the horizontal. Enrique controls the vertical. Chris is not here. He's our Z-axis. As Sally Field would say, he's on vacation.
His second holiday, actually, because that's the thing they do over there.
That's right. He's on second of 3. So you got us. We're here to talk about video games. We're going to do no stops. We're going to do it straight through. And I guess we'll make our own interstitial music because I don't know how to do half of what Chris does. The man's a mad genius. And all right, so let's move on now that everybody is hopefully prepared, and let's talk about what we've been playing. How does it sound? It goes boing, wow.
And there's like a small silence.
And it has been another excellent week for video games. Let's talk a little bit about what we have been playing. And hey, let's start with Enrique.
Yes, still doing Rimworld. Actually, really loving it. I turned the difficulty up a bit, and I'm getting completely slaughtered. So now it's got to kind of adjust my play style.
That game is, yeah, man. I made it. Something about that game is weird. Something about the end game doesn't exactly feel good. Like building the ship and then taking off.
It almost feels like, I don't know, like just because of the way the game goes, you're always kind of reacting to everything that happens. And I don't know, like I feel like once you build the ship, it's almost like it gives it such an awkward, abrupt finality.
It really does, man. Because I'm not building like a sand painting like those monks do just to let it blow away in the wind. I'm building like a fortified fortress of steel and turrets and crops and like really getting attached to a base, and then
you just leave it behind and
there's
like nothing else. Yeah, it's like you don't even look back. So it's weird. I know what you mean. There's like a weird feeling to it. Especially the higher difficulties, because like you said, like the higher difficulties, you really start getting attached to that base because you build it out in the most ideal way like for yourself. I mean, remember we were talking, I actually ended up putting together that hotbox idea, which worked great for a lot of raids, where essentially you build like a main chamber where enemies can kind of funnel through, but instead of kind of trying to shoot them out, what you do is you basically like lock them up in a way and just crank the heater up, and they eventually die of heat exhaustion.
That's a cool way to do it.
Dude, it works. I mean, the downside is it's kind of a bitch to get them out of there because it takes a long time for that air to filter out.
Oh, yeah, right. You can't send your own people in. It's too hot. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, other than that, I'm messing around with that. But I actually really want to talk about This Is the Police because that came out on Tuesday and I picked it up last week. And I've actually been having a blast with it so far.
Tell me about This Is the Police.
It's a weird mix between like a visual novel and a resource management game. Because on the one hand, you basically play like an older police, chief in like the 50s who's like I think 180 days away from retirement, and the backdrop it gives you is like the mayor kind of screwed you out of your job, so you're forced into retirement, in 3 months, I think, or a couple months, whatever. And you basically you're pissed off, so you're trying to set aside some money for yourself to live off, just to kind of live the good life. And you do it by kind of taking side jobs and embezzling a little bit of money. You're kind of like just on the gray side of legal.
Right.
And at some point the mob can get involved. So you have a choice if you kind of want to, I guess, work with them or say, pretty much give them the finger and go your own way. It's kind of neat though. Cause like I said, like you have like this visual story kind of element where it plays out like one of those like visual novels you can play for like those like Japanese sim games where it's just, you have like a narrator voiceover talks, tells you what's happening, and then you get to like a little decision point and you can make a choice, and then he just keeps narrating the story. But it's really cool because it's got this really nice noir kind of Dick Tracy vibe to it, which I'm a sucker for those. So I'm having a lot of fun with that aspect.
How much of it is like a choose your own adventure, and how much of it is like an actual strategy game?
It's like half and half because the choose your own adventure bits, and then you get like your day to day is like at the police station where you kind of have this world map, and you have to, I guess, situations come up where like crimes in progress, robberies, and you have to deploy different officers, and each officer has kind of like a professionalism ranking that will affect how well they'll do in that case, or if they'll F it up really bad, and it goes up and down depending if they succeed in the case. You have detectives on the side, and detectives get assigned to like actual investigations, and those investigations usually have deadlines, and they're broken up into like gang investigations, drug investigations, and depending on who you assign, they'll actually like put together clues, and it's up to you to kind of put the clues together to, I guess, solve the case. So I mean, it's got some really cool kind of competing elements to it.
That sounds awesome, man. I like the managing a police station deal, like sending people out on cases and stuff.
Yeah, and then you also have like as the game progresses, you kind of open up like secondary screens for. You get requests from City Hall where you can actually submit requests to them for bigger budget, better salary, more officer kind of thing. But at the same time, they'll send requests to you to do certain things. And whether or not you help them, they can kind of affect whether or not they'll actually agree to your request kind of thing. To give you an example, I think since it's set in the 50s, it kind of has like this whole racism kind of undertone to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there's a gang of white supremacists going around basically killing all the black people. And City Hall actually sends you a missive saying, hey, we want you to fire all the black officers because we don't want to upset this group and cause some violence.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and it's like, no, what? But it's funny because when you fire officers, you actually have to fire them either legally or illegally. If you fire them legally, there's actual criteria they have to meet, like either they failed 3 missions in a row, they're too old, things like that. And you can fire them for illegally, and that will be clean slate. They're gone, nothing wrong. But if you choose to fire them illegally, that can actually have repercussions on the line. So, like in that scenario, for example, two of the black officers I had, I could choose to fire like illegally, but I was like, I'm not gonna do this. So I pretty much like skipped that little request from City Hall, and then it pissed them off, and then they basically denied me raises and stuff for like a month. So I was like, oh, that's
what?
Yeah, and then it kind of sucks because then you're hurting for money. So when it comes to things like you upgrading your SWAT team, you don't have like the proper personnel to respond to certain situations, and it can escalate really bad.
Wow, so there's like an Eternal Affairs sort of almost.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's got like this whole vibe, and then later on, like I said, the mob gets involved, and then the mob will kind of ask you special favors, like, hey, we have this thing going on at this time, so please look the other way, and you can choose to or you can choose not to. And then if you choose to, they'll kind of slide a bit of money your way. If you don't, there's repercussions down the line. It's kind of cool because you actually have to keep track of it yourself too. There's no like reminder in game, so sometimes like if you just kind of gloss over a letter and you don't really pay attention to it, it's entirely possible for you to forget what they asked you, and you're like, oh crap.
Oh no.
Yeah, that happened to me a few times. There's actual other requests because, like I said, during the whole time, your police chief is still trying to kind of set money back, for himself. So sometimes you'll get requests out, like some private party says, hey, I need a bouncer from my nightclub tonight. Why don't you send your best guy over? And it sucks because if you send someone that does too good of a job, there's a chance that he might, like, that bouncer might take them away. It's like, hey, sorry, chief, this guy paid me more money than you ever have, so I'm going to go over there now. So you lose a really good officer. But if you send them someone that doesn't do a good enough job, they can die or things can happen. So it's like a lot of micromanaging, which I thought was really cool.
That sounds way more interesting to me than like another one of those choose your own adventure games.
Yeah, like the choose your own adventure, it's more giving you like a little bit of a background with like the mob and who you're siding with and all that. And then following through that, it kind of affects some of the events that show up as well. So it's kind of neat. It affects your story in that way.
There's probably like 100 endings in that thing too, huh?
I know there's a couple things that can affect it. I know during one point I ended up just getting killed by the mob because I ignored their request too much after I said I was going to help them.
Oops.
So, and it's weird because it's kind of hard to gauge when they're going to turn the other way, because sometimes you get like a cryptic message from them saying, I hope you had a good reason for, ignoring our request. We'll see what happens. And then other times they won't even comment when you stop a robbery they were planning. They're like, okay, we see how it is. And then before you know it, your guy gets taken out.
Wow.
Yeah, no, but it's awesome. It's kind of weird though, because when I looked at the reviews, a lot of the professional sites kind of gave it a very middle of the road kind of review system. And when I looked at the actual content of the reviews, I was a little disappointed because they weren't complaining about anything gameplay wise. They were complaining about, I guess, the subject matter of the game.
Oh, come on. That's not fair.
Yeah, they were talking about the game's either tries to be too political or, it brings up, like uncomfortable subjects that, it really has no place to talk about. So I
Hey
don't know. I
man,
didn't
it was the
agree.
50s. Like that whole era was an uncomfortable subject.
Yeah, so I don't know. I wasn't necessarily a big fan of the reviews that I saw. Overall, though, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think my only hesitation with it is I don't know how it'll would be with replayability because from what I've gathered, I think a lot of the events are kind of set in stone in regards to like the mob will get involved regardless of whether or not you agree to help them.
Right.
So it gives you like that kind of like illusion of choice where you think like, oh man, I'm gonna say no and see what happens this time, but it still somehow finds its way to kind of work itself in there anyway.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, but other than that, man, I've been really like pleasantly surprised. It's actually really fun, kind of like police sim in a way.
It sounds fantastic, man.
Yeah,
I like that. Everything you're saying to me makes me want to go play it later.
yeah. I actually need to restart the game because God, so it sucks because some of the missions can kind of escalate randomly. So like you might send somebody, there's like red flags. So a kid called, say crying on the phone saying that he'd been kidnapped and the people beat him and wouldn't let him outside. I was like, holy crap. So I sent 3 of my best officers to him. Meanwhile, a bank robbery came up with hostages. I only had, I think, about 3 really crappy cops, so I sent them to kind of hold it down. Then there's a timer between when you send an officer out and they get to the scene and they come back, so they're unavailable for that time period. So the 3 good cops I sent to like that kidnapping, I get a call back saying, "Hey, turns out it's a false alarm. The little kid just got he's in timeout. His parents won't let him outside. He was just basically pulling your chain."
No.
Which sucks because now I have my cops that are I think about an hour out and they're slowly driving back. And meanwhile, the other ones that I sent to the bank robbery suddenly email me back saying, "Hey, this thing escalated. We need help, and they need backup, and I don't have anybody to send them, so I have to ignore the request." And I ended up losing 4 officers out of that. So I'm just like, Jesus Christ!
Wow, man, that's what I'm talking about. That sounds like a great game.
Like I said, dude, it's fun. I'm having a blast with it, and the whole little choose your own adventure thing. It adds a lot of flavor to it more than anything. So it's not. I don't think it detracts from the gameplay at all.
Yeah,
because the bulk
I
of
like
it is
that.
just like that day to day, like managing the police station resources and stuff. So
That is definitely the stuff that sings to me. Like what was the other one that was big a while back? I think it was called Wizardry. Everybody was all into that, and not really feeling it. But this game sounds like the primary focus is more on the management side, which is where I'd be more invested anyway.
Yeah, like I said, I'd say at the very least it's worth picking up probably like on Steam still because I think it's going at $30 right now. Now for some people it might be like a higher price point, but it's definitely worth playing at some point.
Sweet.
But yeah, that's eating up the most of my time. I'm actually about to jump on No Man's Sky this week because it just released and hopefully it'll live up to the hype.
Yeah, I'm sure that people do want to hear about No Man's Sky, but they'll have to talk to Chris or you for that one.
What about you, man? Anything you picked up?
Just Rimworld? Is that?
Did you beat the game like once already?
This is what happened, man, and this is where I started getting those interesting thoughts about the ending, is that I was in a very strong position to beat the game, and I started beating myself instead. I started playing real lazily, like almost because I subconsciously didn't want to finish it. And then by the time I realized I was doing that, I'd like something already happened that made me lose. But I got another one going right now. What I told myself is that once I finish it, I can start using all the mods and stuff because the mod space for that game is enormous and there's so many cool scenarios and all that stuff. So I'm sort of using that as a reward for myself because I don't want it to be over is what I found.
Right.
Was like I didn't want to beat it and then be done with it, I guess. Like I wanted to still play it. I still like it so much.
I know that's happened to me. I kind of fall into that weird false sense of security where you start being lazy because everything's almost automated in a way.
Yeah, I think that I also was like sabotaging myself. Like I just didn't want to win because I didn't want to win because I don't know. I guess I thought that was it. I might be bored of it at that point. But also what happened was I think also because I was going down south this weekend that I couldn't really get invested in any new colonies, and I was like, oh crap, am I bored with this game? Well, no, it turns out like I just know I have to leave in 2 days, so I'm not really willing to sink as deep because as soon as I got back, man, I'm like on it again just as hard as ever, and the game is awesome.
Yeah, dude, I think one thing that I like about it reminds me a lot of Civ in a way that you have like that mentality. You're like, oh, I'll just play for like 5 more minutes. You're like, well, one more turn.
Yeah, just let me resolve this event, and then I'll go to bed, and then all of a sudden it's 2 a.m. because you wanted to build a real nice rec room.
Well, I mean, and I keep forgetting it's still technically in early access too, right?
Yeah, it's even earlier than that. It's in like alpha something. I mean, like I guess they're barely even close to done with it, which is insane for how complete of a game it is.
Yeah, I mean, considering the amount of like time I've sunk into it already, and I mean the amount of time that you're sinking completely shadows mine. But the fact that you can get that much gameplay out of it, I mean, I'm pretty excited considering what else they're going to update it to.
I know, and there's like scenarios. Like you could start out just one guy, and you get like a lot more resources because you're just one guy. And there's another one that's the opposite of that, where you get 5 dudes, but you're really low tech. It's called Tribal.
Oh my god, dude! They actually get you get a penalty for tech research too at the very beginning.
Yeah, exactly. And then I found a whole nother thing under the scenarios. You can just make a random scenario, and it does stuff like starts you off with like 200 lamps or something stupid like that. It's just totally random. It's amazing.
Lamp salesman.
Yeah,
crash landed.
That was one of the ones I rolled was like you start out with like I think 100 steel and 200 floor lamps. It was
okay.
Yeah, like I want to play that stuff too. So, yeah, that and the mods seem to be pretty incredible. There's a lot of them that sound amazing, but I think yeah, there's a lot of stuff back there, and I just need to finish it. I got a good one going right now. Just need to get in that ship, sail off, and then dance around in mod land. I think for a little while.
Yeah, I need to pick it back up. I had a really crushing defeat that it sucks because like the base was going great and I had everything pretty much automated. I had enough food. I had enough, I actually even opened up one of those ancient chambers of ancient evils and it was filled with mantis. Oh no, scythers.
Yeah.
But I took the scythers out. Like it was a sweet thing where I kind of built like just a line of sandbags and like a flanking point. So pretty much they had to go and file one at a time. They killed each other because there's friendly fire. My guys took out the stragglers. So, I mean, it was great. So I had all this like technology left over. It was amazing. And then one guy got sick. He got like some kind of weird infection.
Oh, those aren't good.
And it sucks because I figured like, he'll be fine. So I let him rest. And then next thing I know, he's like on his deathbed. Says, so-and-so's got, I think I had to amputate a leg and take out his kidney because the infection was so bad. And then apparently that infection turned into an outbreak. And then I only had one vet / like medical officer. He got sick. So he was about to die. And I think his arm was infected and it was in terrible condition. So I'm like, crap, I need to amputate and hope for the best. So tried to amputate that, botched it. He died. His wife who committed the operation ended up getting super depressed. She ended up passing away. Somebody that apparently was secretly in love with her. Dude, it was just like it spiraled out of control, and I was just like, God damn it.
Yeah, it's rough, man. It's very rough sometimes, but that's part of what I like about it. Even though sometimes it does feel out of your control. I had a guy. Sometimes you get the outcasts who are being chased by pirates, and you have to decide to accept them. So I accepted him because he was somebody's father. I was like, all right, well, I guess, let's roleplay this a little bit. And this fat ass dude pops up on the side of the screen. And like one of his traits is slowpoke, which means his movement speed is reduced by, I think, 20%. And he didn't even make it 4 steps off the edge before all the pirates caught him and just butchered him, turned him into paste. And then she freaked out because her dad died. And then all of a sudden now I have 8 problems I have to control.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But just stuff like that, man. The game is just so good.
It's great, though. But yeah, but it definitely feels like some of those problems can just... It's like you're playing a big game of Jenga, and just the wrong block moves, and everything just comes crashing down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly right. I agree with that. And the storyteller doesn't help when they want to throw like 3 things at you in a row, but it's good. It's just good. I don't know what else to say. That game has consumed me completely, and I still want to play it even more.
Nice. I'm glad you're digging it, dude. It's very rare to find a game that kind of holds your attention for that long.
It really is. It really is. I agree with you very much on that one. And it's not even done. It's like, wow, super excited. I don't know why you guys care about No Man's Sky so much. Like Rimworld is already here.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm looking forward to No Man's Sky. I have a lot of respect for the developer, especially Sean Murray, because he's actually gone out of his way to kind of like taper expectations a bit. And I think because he personally knows how bad the hype train can be and how easily it can kind of derail. He even had an AMA on Reddit just to kind of like try to answer some questions and let people get some realistic expectations of it. I mean, he straight up came and said, hey, I just want you to know, like, this may not be the game for you. This game is meant to be like very relaxing, exploratory. You need to like fly around, take your time, discover things. So if you're looking for like PvP battles and giant spaceship conquest and all that stuff, like it's not going to be there at launch. if ever. So
yeah, I've definitely learned that there are at least two types of people in this world, but like very specifically about stuff like that. There's like immersion people, and then there's people who are more geared towards what are you doing, I guess.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like my old job, my boss was always about like the world creation, and like he built all these crazy models. He loved to sculpt. He did just all this stuff, just immersive stuff, but like rules wise, they were always shit. Okay. And so me and him would get in fights. I'm like, dude, the machine gun can't cost that much. It doesn't make sense. And he's like, well, yeah, but it's a machine gun. And I'm like, dude, look, it doesn't work that way. Like there are rules, right? And so I think that there are people out there who just want to explore and just want to be immersed, and they're probably going to be happy as clams. Yeah. And I don't know if the majority of video game people are mechanics focused or that other side focused. I mean, I'm definitely the extreme side of the coin in the mechanics direction, but you're right. It is also about expectations for sure.
Yes, I mean, well, the preliminary reports I've seen are pretty surprising. A lot of people are enjoying it, but I think, like I said, it's that group of people that knew what they were getting into. They were expecting like that nice, cool, relaxing experience where it's world building, discovery, and all that. And I think for them, it's getting them exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, I think so too. Absolutely. And I mean, if anything, expectations is you sort of wanting something out of it that they never promised you, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true.
In a way. But hey, stay tuned. I guess next week we'll give a full report on No Man's Sky.
Hell yeah.
Or you guys will. You can talk to me about it. All right, let's hit up. Let's see. Chris did send me a list of news, so I guess I will follow the rules on that one. Let's hit a couple of these, and then we'll sign off. Wow. All right, so we've got some news items here. I'm great at that, right? I know.
It's like he's here.
All right, let's see here. Pokemon Sun and Moon trailer.
That was neat with the Alola versions.
All right, tell me about that.
No, I guess they're replacing the Mega Evolutions and adding in, I guess, Z moves, which are kind of ultimate moves you could do. And then they're adding in Alola versions, I think is what it's called, where this game is I guess, centered around Hawaii, the islands of Hawaii. And I guess each island has some kind of like distinct environment and weather.
Oh, neat.
And I guess along with that, what they're doing is they're taking some older Gen 1 Pokemons, and I guess they're giving them like a different elemental variation, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
So like the Sandshrew, Sandslash, Vulpix, and I think Ninetales, which are, I think they were ground and fire Pokemon respectively. I think they were going to live in one of the snow-covered islands, so they actually have like a winter, like ice snow variation on them this time around.
Well, that sounds cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. So like I guess you can get like different like subspecies of Pokemon, so that's a little bit refreshing. And I think they're going to add I think it's like Alola versions or something, which is like I guess they're replacing Mega Evolutions now. Where I don't know. All I know is that there was a lot of like memes coming out about Charizard not being a dragon, and then the Executor, which is like the giant palm tree, turning into a dragon type, which is just like a bigger palm tree.
I think I've seen that palm tree somewhere.
Yeah, it's got a palm tree like a very long neck.
Okay, let's see what else we got here. Inside for trophies for PS4 revealed that Inside is coming to the PlayStation 4. Have you played that?
I have not.
Yeah, me neither. I was looking at it. It seems like it's okay.
I've heard good things about it. I've heard it's very story driven, I think, and like it's one of those games you can't talk about it without spoiling the story.
Yeah, Limbo Part 2.
Huh.
Yeah, maybe one day. Maybe one day. Okay, let's see. Open Critic says multiple outlets aren't getting advanced copies of No Man's Sky.
Oh man, I love this.
Does that matter?
Coming from a game reviewer perspective, take this with a grain of salt. These are my own views and the respective views of any publication I work for. But I think games media are really fucking spoiled. And they are not owed review copies under any circumstances. And I think a lot of them, even though they like to make it seem like they're doing a benefit to like the consumer, they're basically just throwing a temper tantrum because they can't play the game early.
Well, plus they have to like work harder once they do get their hands on it because they have to have something out basically pronto.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. Like they're not owed a review copy. It's nothing. Nowhere is it written like a developer has to basically acquiesce to your review request, especially with a game like No Man's Sky, where there's been a bit of drama because a couple of copies got leaked, and a lot of people started complaining about the game, the experience, because it seems very limited. There's a lot of stuff missing. And Harebrained, no, what's the company called? Damn. Wow, I forget the company.
Hello Games.
Yeah, Hello Games. Yeah. They came on Twitter and said, "Hey guys, just so you know, there's a huge day one patch coming, and it's going to change the game entirely. So what you're seeing right now is not indicative of the final game." So for them, that was a big motivation for not handing out review copies, because they knew that they weren't going to be able to give an accurate representation of the game by just playing on basically an unfinished copy.
That makes sense to me. Plus, look at Doom, right?
Yeah, that's true. No review copies, and the game turned out fantastic.
Yeah, so that's kind of my touchstone now. I mean, I used to be very much like, oh, no review copies. Okay, that game's probably not going to be great. But now I don't think that's a metric anymore. I think it's just up to them, really.
No, I mean, and I understand where the hesitation comes from, because we've seen it with I think was Assassin's Creed Unity was the one that came out. It was completely broken. That one had no review copies out, and then the day, or I think there was an embargo for I think the embargo was at 2 p.m. after the day of release. So people still had I think about 4 or 5 hours to buy the game without seeing a release on it, and reviews came out, and they were they talked about all the problems, the stability issues that the game had. And I think that's what kind of kicked off that whole conversation about oh man, it's really shady tactic when developers don't give out review copies or when they embargo them to a certain time, kind of thing.
Yeah. Hey man, don't pre-order games. Yeah. No problem. Then, whatever.
I don't know, man. I think it's people don't like taking responsibility for their own actions. And I mean, it's our own fault when we overhype ourselves, and if a game company has a review embargo for the day of sale, it's not going to kill you to wait a few hours the day it comes out to see a review.
I agree. I'm with you there. 100%. Let's do this one. This one's great. Internet Archive releases the first 13 years of Nintendo Power for free.
I saw that, dude. Oh, God, it was a nostalgia trip.
That's awesome. Looking at those covers, man, I still have all of them in my grandma's basement. So.
Oh, Jesus. I don't think mine are preserved anymore. I used to buy them every single month. And I remember the Virtual Boy one. I remember the N64 one was a huge one, talking about the new Mario, everything coming out.
Yeah, I had when I was little. I guess I didn't read so good, so they got me Nintendo Power to make me read, and now I am a voracious and wide-read reader, so I guess that worked.
Hey, it did its job.
Yeah, so I still have every issue, and just looking at those covers is absolutely a trip. The pullouts and all that stuff is awesome. I remember so much of that. It's actually very astounding to me.
I still remember the back of the magazine had a little cheat section for all the Nintendo games.
Yeah, man, how awesome is that?
Dude, yeah, I think it had a section for passwords and just random cheats for games that came out. I was like, oh, this is great. I remember I used to wait every month for that issue to come out just so you could look at some of the most recent games that came out. Oh God, it's a cheat in here. I need it.
Some of that stuff, even though obviously less convenient than the current ways that we have, there's something magical about it. I don't know. Now we can just get on the internet and find out whatever we want, but there's something about having it delivered to you in a tome every month. It just feels good.
It added a little bit of gravitas to it. The fact that you got that big magazine, you're all right, let's see what we can find today.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That was a good magazine. I think they did a really good job with that one.
It makes me wonder if we're going to see that done for other publications like Game Informer kind of thing, because I remember Game Informer. I still have a huge stack of them when they first came out. I mean, I have some of the older issues, and it's really fun to kind of go back through them and just see the difference in some of the games that they covered. I remember one of my favorite issues is when they first covered Borderlands, and how the art style was completely different when they were first showcasing it.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, dude. No, the art style looked. It was actually supposed to be more real to life. So imagine kind of Rage or. It was supposed to be more realistic looking graphics, and then at some point in development, they decided to change to the new animation style.
Wow, that was a good choice.
Yeah, but it was weird just looking back on it, dude. The game has a completely different tone just based on that image, on that article alone. So it's kind of cool just kind of looking back and doing a bit of a post-mortem on that stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep flipping through those a little bit.
Yeah, I want to get some Nintendos.
There might be a picture of me with a wave race time in one of those.
Oh my God, really?
I can't remember. I'll have to ask my dad if he remembers, but I remember very much taking a picture of my time in Wave Race and mailing it in, but I can't remember if it got in the magazine or not.
Oh man, I hope there's an ad of you there.
I don't even know. Did I even like Wave Race that much? I don't know. Anyway, that's weird. Let's see. I got more news here. I don't know. None of it. Oh, here we go. How about this? Sean Bean will be the voice for the Civilization 6 tech tree. I don't know who that guy is. Oh, wait, here. In parentheses, it says Boromir! Exclamation point.
Yeah, remember he dies in every movie?
Everyone?
Yeah, every movie he's been in, he dies.
Oh, crap. Well,
we'll get like his narration for about half the game, and then Gandhi will take him out with a nuke.
yeah. And then let's see, we got some Pokemon Go stuff that I don't care about, and wow, probably a bad idea to put me in charge of the news. That's it. That's all I got. That's the whole list. Unless you want to talk about Marvel Ultimate Alliance ports.
Man, fuck that game. It's better now, but I was pissed when it came out because it was a really shitty port on PC. They didn't include any of the DLC. Frame rate was fucking atrocious, and they had the fucking gall to charge $60 for the 2 games.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know, dude. It's just, for a 10-year-old game to have that many issues and be that high of a price point was really, really scum move.
Oh my god, is that game 10 years old? I remember playing that with some friends of mine.
I remember it was 360 way back in the day.
Wow. All right. That's okay. Blast from the past. That game was pretty fun though. I mean, I liked it just in general, just for goofing around with some buddies.
I don't know, dude. It was great. But I think I haven't played it recently, but I did hear that they patched the PC version and they were actually going to be releasing the gold edition with the DLC characters and all that for free. So there's that at least. But it kind of, I don't know, dude. It still left a sour taste in my mouth because it kind of just rubs salt in the wound knowing that for a lot of the developers and like these kind of game ports, that PC is just kind of an afterthought.
Yeah, it's not good. If you're going to make a port, like make it nice. At least make it functional. Not a cash grab, right?
Yeah, functional at least.
Cool. Well, that's all the news for this week, and I guess we're going to wrap this thing up and move on with ourselves. I know you want to get to playing No Man's Sky, and I want to get back to this colony that I got going. So, thank you very much for listening. As always, you can find us online at any of our various internet outlets. You can find us at Gmail, selectcharacters@gmail.com. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us on our Discord, where we're chatting with folks about all sorts of things from Pokemon Go to the Australian census. So that's neat.
It's a wild trip.
It really is. It's great to actually spend time in there and talk with you guys. And let's see, you can find us on iTunes and leave us a review. Check out the YouTube channel where this podcast shows up. And I'm pretty sure that's it. I haven't done this in a while, so my plugs are a little rusty.
I think they did the job.
All right. Well, until next week, I will see you then, I suppose. Enrique Cancel was here. I was also here. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Bye. 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 Bye.